everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of The Money Show, the Women's Day Special. I'm Avan Dabash. Now, gone are the days that women took the backseat and depended on men financially. Today, women have made many strides in the world of finance and business, but we still have a long way to go. And we at ET Now on The Money Show want to help all of the women to empower themselves financially by helping out answering all your questions and queries and giving you tips to help your money grow. You can send us your questions on the number that's flashing on your screen, or you can email us on themoneyshow@etnow.tv. Joining in on the show today is Lakshmi Iyer, CIO Det and Head of Products, Kotak AMC. Lovely to have you with us on the show, Lakshmi, and wishing you and your team of very financially empowered women a happy Women's Day. And like I was saying earlier, I think it really needs to be celebrated every day. But let's start off by talking about some of the topics that would really be of importance to women out there. And I want to start off by understanding what are the financial benefits that every woman should be aware of.
So firstly, Avan, wish you a very happy Women's Day and all the viewers too. And I, of course, there is this WhatsApp going around that every day is a Women's Day, but I think every day is meant to be loved. We still celebrate Valentine's Day, right? So I think it's important to have one day for financial empowerment of women, and I think that's the day. Speaking of financial benefits, I think when you make investments in a financial asset class, whether it's fixed income or equity, it's very critical that you can plan for your future needs within these asset classes. Point number one. Point number two is that the ease with which you can execute each of these, and more importantly, create a category for wealth creation, number one, and another for wealth preservation. I think both of that is possible. So a fully I would say exhaustive financial stability plan can actually be created with financial investments. So I think that is the biggest benefit that you get out of investments.
Okay, point taken. Let's get to all of those queries. All the women out there have sent in their questions, and like I was saying, we encourage you to do this not just today but every single day as well on The Money Show. Well, Srilata has emailed us and she says, my father is retiring in May 2018 and withdrew a provident fund of about 60 lakh in February to buy a flat. He's now looking to invest 15 lakh rupees in mutual funds or post office schemes for a monthly income of roughly 15,000 rupees. Can you, Lakshmi, suggest how he can invest the rest of his retirement corpus in order to generate monthly income? What would be your advice to Srilata? Lakshmi, is my audio reaching you? Can you hear me just fine? I think we're having a bit of an audio problem with Lakshmi right now, but just to stress, Srilata is not really asking a question about herself, but she's talking about what to do for her father's retirement plan to put that into place, and it's fairly important that she gets going right now. She's spoken about how he has a corpus of about 15 lakh rupees and he's looking to invest that in either mutual funds or post office schemes. He would like a regular monthly income of about 15,000 rupees. So, Lakshmi, if my voice is reaching you, just wanted to know what your advice is to Srilata. 15 lakh rupees in mutual funds. Okay, I don't think she's able to hear us right now, but okay. Lakshmi, can you get my audio clearly?
You're saying that, yeah, I can hear you now very clearly.
Okay, go ahead. 15 lakh rupees, mutual funds, post office schemes for a 15,000 rupee income. What would you advise, Srilata?
This is basically, the way I understand, is a retirement corpus which she wants to utilize it and earn a monthly income. So now this kitty is a very, very precious kitty, and this is all your life earnings that you're putting it into one pot. So I think the objective of this money should be less to grow over the next few years, and the preference should be obviously more to stabilize the income from this booty or this kitty. So my suggestion would be, while mutual funds don't assure you monthly returns or regular returns, I think there is this category called monthly income plans, which have demonstrated a track record of monthly dividends subject to market movement. So I think that would be a good investment avenue for her, where there is marginal equity, ranging from 15 to 25%, and bulk of the portfolio is actually invested in fixed income. So I think you take care of the stability aspiration, and you get a little bit of income depending on market movements. I think that would be a good way to plan out this investment.
All right, I hope you've taken note of the advice that's been given by Lakshmi, talking about how mutual funds don't necessarily assure monthly income, but you can look at low equity exposure and monthly dividend options as well. Let's move on to Simina, and she sent us a question. She says, a few years ago, I had bought a few ULIPs and mutual funds and sold them after the lock-in period. After I lost money in one such fund, I've been very cautious about investing in funds. So she asks now, how should I approach investments in ULIPs in light of this, and is there any other advice for investing in mutual funds? Lakshmi?
Yeah, so firstly, to this investor, my first observation is that insurance has to be a pure risk cover. It cannot be used as an investment avenue. Having said that, it's okay. It's not that we've not made mistakes in the past. But the point is that it's no point brooding over spilt milk. And I also believe that you cannot be once bitten, twice shy. So it makes sense for her to basically look at a term cover, number one. So you take a risk cover on your life, and the remainder, because that's obviously low on premiums, and the remainder of the money you should actually do a systematic investment plan with any diversified equity mutual fund. So it takes care of two aspirations: A, in your entire investment journey, God forbid something happens to your life, this term cover becomes very valuable. Else, over the next 25-30 years, you've created sufficient wealth for you that you can let this term cover expire worthless. So I think that should be the way to approach the investments, blending both mutual funds and insurance into your portfolio.
All right, that's the outlook coming in, and I hope you've taken note, Sumina, of the advice that has been given. Let's move on then and focus in on another query. Do we have a live caller, Mrs. Suresh, joining in from New Delhi with us, because she's got a question regarding her individual funds? Okay, let's just take on board the question. She asks, where should I invest 5,000 rupees in mutual funds? I already have an SIP of HDFC Tax Saver and SBI Magnum for the next 1.5 years. So essentially, she wants you to review her portfolio. Do you think that HDFC Tax Saver and SBI Magnum are good funds, and any additional recommendations that you would have for the corpus that she is looking at?
Sure. So firstly, from what I understand, the investments in the tax saver fund is largely with a tax saving intent in mind. So I think that is broadly fine. And the other fund is largely with a disciplined investment into a diversified portfolio. So I think both those are okay in order in terms of the objective which is required. And in terms of additional investments, if she wants to do a 5,000 rupee investment, if it's an SIP, again, you could do well with any diversified investment equity portfolio which is predominantly skewed towards large cap, or maybe, as I said, a multi cap, or if it's a lump sum money which one wants to deploy, then you can put that money into a tax saving plan rather than doing it bit by bit.
All right, hope you've taken note of that advice that's been given. Invest a lump sum in a tax saver fund that offers you the dual propositions. Lakshmi, stay with us, and I encourage all of our viewers, if you have any questions or queries, do keep them coming. There's an email ID. You can just shoot out an email to us or contact us on the number on your screens. Quick break, be back with more. We talk about more topics for women, how women can really take control of and first steps that they can take to become financially independent, as well as address some more questions that you have. Welcome back. This is the Money Show, and we're celebrating Women's Day today by bringing on board Lakshmi Iyer, as well as taking all the questions and queries that have been sent into us by women to help women empower themselves financially and grow in the world of finance. Well, let's take on board another topic that I would like to discuss then. And Lakshmi, for those out there, in fact, interestingly, today we took on board some viewer queries on the show Buy Now, Sell Now, and there's a lot of women who are very averse to, taking control of their finances, or never really have bothered to take the leap and go ahead and do so. So for those first-time investors, how can women take the first step of becoming financially aware, of taking control of their family's finances and not being dependent on somebody else? What are some of the words of wisdom and general advice and do's and don'ts that you will have?
So my sense is that to be financially aware, you need to be financially literate, and they go literally, hand in hand with each other. So firstly, when you are aware that this is what you can do, then you become financially conscious of your own household investments. It's like, buying a house, it's the spouse, both the partners are involved, or planning a family, they are involved. Any of these things, or planning a holiday. So why is it so different with financial planning? So once you are aware, that is when you start planning. And how can you be financially aware to participate? I think media houses such as you have done a wonderful job in spreading this message through personal finance sessions such as this as well, including mutual funds, for example, who've been doing various investor awareness programs across the country, and there is pre-notice given on individual website. So I will urge every woman who's watching this show, to follow media, follow how these things are planned out, and also attend these IAP sessions, because they have bundle of knowledge. And when you have this bundle of knowledge, then you're equipped. It's just like making a food in the kitchen. You have the recipe in hand, and then look at it how beautifully you can make the dish. Without that, it could be a big disaster, unless you are a complete virtuoso. I'm referring to amateurs who want to take their first step.
Okay, and what better way than to have a relation with women than talk about cooking? And of course, I'm sure a lot of people out there would like to initiate and take the first step. Investor awareness programs conducted by the mutual fund industry, that would be a step in the right direction. And, interestingly, there seem to be a lot of women-specific financial products out there as well, Lakshmi. I just want to understand whether or not it makes sense. Is it just a marketing gimmick? Is there anything that you would advise women to go for, or completely stay clear?
See, my take on this is that a financial product, whatever form or shape or whichever asset classes belongs to, is predominantly need-based. How can it be gender-based? You can bring some small tweaks, add some more, say, spice to it, etc., to make it slightly more palatable, or maybe make it in such a manner, package it in such a manner that it becomes easier to communicate. But otherwise, is there something suited, a financial product suited specifically to the female audience or the female investor? My experience, obviously, clearly not. So it's more of trying to hard push something. I would obviously request viewers not get carried away by that. Be focused on your need, and based on your need, make your financial plan.
Okay, I hope you've taken note. That's some key advice coming in based on your need. You should make some financial plans and don't get carried away. Some things do tend to be a marketing gimmick. Well, let's get on board. More queries, and do remember, you've got a number flashing on your screen. You've got an email address. If you have any questions on mutual fund, insurance, tax, please fire away. Rati Rao has connected with us, and she says, in the current market environment where interest rates have peaked and equity markets are volatile, what is your recommendation of an equity debt allocation in one's portfolio, and should there be any change? And, rightly so, we've been seeing the markets which are dominated by volatility of late. What would you advise in light of this in terms of the component of equity debt?
So again, my advice to Rati would be there is no one size fits all. She and me, for example, may be of a similar constitution, but her level of carbohydrates and vitamins and proteins intake in the diet may be visibly different from mine. And why I'm giving this example to extrapolate that to her query is to say that the asset allocation between debt and equity specifically cannot be at the mercy of market volatility. It has to be with an end plan or an end goal in mind, and if you have identified that goal either singly or along with your advisor, basis that you have to plan your asset allocation. And I'll give you my own personal example. At the stage where I am, and I have more than 85% of my own personal portfolio in equities, because I don't need the money for the next 5-10 years, and I don't really care of whether the markets were in the red or the green. So I think plan your asset allocation not looking at market volatilities, but looking at what is the kind of booty or the kitty that you seek to aspire or seek to create after 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I think that should be the way to go, not the reverse.
Okay, so, Lakshmi is essentially saying that one really doesn't need to monitor the day-to-day movement of the markets. She herself has clarified or disclosed that there is a significant portion of her portfolio which is directly in equities, but she doesn't have any sleepless nights because it's for the long haul. So I think having your financial goals in mind and knowing that you're willing to stay on for the long haul, that would definitely be more key when it comes to the equity debt allocation in your portfolio. And Rati, thank you for sending us that query. I do encourage you to send any other questions or queries that you may have. Well, let's get on board the next question for the day, which has been sent in to us by Chinmai. She says, do you recommend balanced funds versus pure equity funds in the current environment? So first off, start off by, for the uninitiated, giving us a view as to what balanced funds are and how good they are, and what pure equity funds are, and which do you think in the current market environment would be better, or do you think that a mix of both?
So as per the new, we now are in the process of realigning the portfolios in line with the new SEBI definition of these funds. So there's going to be largely 2 or 3 categories of funds which have equity exposure. One is obviously the balanced category, where it's usually in the band of about 40 to 65%, fulcrumed around the 50% equity band. And the second would be aggressive hybrid funds, which have around 65 to 80% in equities. Now, in this current environment, both these categories can do well and can be suggested as an investment option if you don't want to subject your portfolio to high-end equity movement and therefore high-end equity risk. The only caveat here which you need to bear in mind, that in the new avatar or in the new regime, the aggressive hybrid equity funds is what will still continue to get the equity taxation, whereas the balanced funds will start enjoying a debt taxation, which means 3 years holding for a long-term capital gains vis-a-vis equity mutual funds which have a 1-year window for qualifying for long-term capital gains. So I think with that objective, or you keep that in mind. But in this kind of an environment, as I mentioned earlier also, if your time horizon is maybe 3 years or 5 years, even if you are allocating into an aggressive hybrid in this kind of a market condition, I think that should be absolutely acceptable.
All right, thanks very much, Lakshmi, for joining in today on the show and helping out a lot of women. As you said, we at ET Now are taking at least the baby steps in order to ensure that women out there become more financially independent and take control of their finances. With that, it's a wrap on this leg of the show. Thanks so much for watching. Tomorrow, The Money Show will be at 5:30 p.m., so stay tuned.